So, first of all, I want to say nice having you. Nice having you on this live today. It's really been a honor for me to have you today in this live. I know we all must be having busy schedule to to take your time to say, okay, this is my brother from Cameroon. Let me join him or let me help in talk with him on a life like this is very great for me.
Yeah.
So you know, firstly, I want to ask a question. Are
Okay.
you a Pan Africanist?
Yeah, I can say I'm a Pan-Africanist. Well, if I haven't reached that level of being called a Pan-Africanist to say, I can say that I'm a Pan-Africanist to be, but generally I'm a Pan-Africanist as long as you do something related to, the Ubuntu spirit, telling Africans, the unity and always informing them about, being unified as people from the Black community. I think that
Yeah,
makes you to be a Pan African.
yeah, that's because most of our African leaders who have always stood, for example, Kwame Nkrumah from Ghana. He was the one that started this idea of Pan Africanism because he knew that Pan Africanism was the only way in which the entire continent will be able to be free totally from the Western propaganda and all the stuff like that. Because we are still in a point where we might not really see the African continent is free because of what we are still seeing that is still happening in the continent. Even though I've always been saying that there is a wind of change that is blowing all across the continent from the coups that are happening, but I am not saying that coups are good, but when it benefits the people of the nation, then it is something that is good. So from our leader Kwame Nkrumah, may his soul rest in peace, that came up with this idea of Pan Africanism. Then from there, Muammar Gaddafi from Libya took this idea also and also preached about Pan Africanism, that is the only way in which Africa can be free, which that is also the reason why I am in for it, because anything that is going to bring the African together, people of African descent together, that is what I stand for. Just that with time, maybe I'm going to put it on the wall in something like the Prince of Pan Africanism, so that at least people might really see what I stand for. Now, the video that you made the other day, I was very happy with that video that you made the other day. Um, from the white guy that was being cheated because I don't know if
Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, I don't know if it's because he's a foreigner that he's just coming new to Kenya, so I don't really know. So he was being cheated. Now I don't know if this is going to apply to our brothers and sisters from the diaspora that want to come to Africa, but are saying, hey, look, we cannot come to the motherland because if we come to the motherland, we can be cheated just like how this white guy was cheated. So now I don't know if it is because he's white. I don't know if it's because he's white or it's just that our people from the diaspora are also going to face the same or pass through the same situation the white guy passed through. So what do you think about this situation?
Okay, you see, one thing which will remain clear to most Africans, if I'm not only going to use Kenya as an example. So you see,
Yeah,
any visitor who is coming to Africa, specifically Kenya to my country, there is one thing which will make you different, you see. So as long as you are in America or maybe if you are from other different countries and you come into Africa, there's one thing which will tell. And for example, you haven't been in Kenya before, you come into Africa for the first time. This one thing
Yeah.
that they hear, and it will tell them that it's not even just color. They are given parameters that shows that maybe you are just a foreigner to that country, and they can easily detect. One is language.
Yeah.
So yeah, one is language. When they just notice that you have kind of a foreign accent, I'm talking about the American accent. I'm also talking
Yeah.
about, maybe British accent. When they notice this, that you have a different accent, because you see, we in Africa, we have our own accent. You see the way
Our
you
answer,
talk
yes,
and
exactly.
the yeah, the way you talk and the way I talk, I know it's African. You see, but
Yeah.
if I find somebody else trying to speak another English accent, they'll know that this is a foreigner. And even before a flip of a flip of a second, they'll just tap into the opportunity and see as a person who they can charge exorbitantly. So me, I don't see there is no issue with color, but long as they notice that you are not from the country, or they notice that you are
Hmm.
not African. Yeah, most especially when they start realizing that you can't speak their language. That's the main problem. As long as you can't speak the local language, that's where they start with. That's why in my videos I normally tell people have like around 3 or 4 months or 6 months before coming to the country that you've decided to come. I mean, to learn the language. And there are so
Yeah.
many ways of learning. There's so many ways of learning the language. One way of learning the language is to find personnel in that country that offer that
Yeah.
kind of language. Also, you can try to look at them by yourselves. We have different apps that help people study different languages, but I prefer if you find a human being that can help you learn the languages. But having being white or being an African American, or any person coming to Africa, you are not safe. You are not safe, because there's one thing that will tell. That's your accent.
Yeah.
we,
Yeah.
you, you see
Exactly.
you see you see if I see you outside there walking, I will assume that he's a fellow
Yes.
African. But the moment we start conversing with them, you see, that's the moment I'll know that this person is not from this country. And if you have those opportunist Africans, or those greedy people, they'll tap into that space and start exploiting.
Yeah, that's true to an extent. I think that is true, and that now is maybe going to put our diasporan family in a tight spot a little bit, because my main goal to the diaspora, I am always telling them, forget about America. Like the same thing that the rapper Akon said, that if you're an African diaspora, whatever businesses you are doing in America or in Europe, take it to Africa. And that is the same thing that I am telling our brothers and sisters, that move to the continent. All right, move to the continent. I know maybe you all might have been seeing the continent from the mainstream media, that always tells you the the continent is like this, the continent is like this. So now, in facing this kind of challenges, that they will come to the motherland feeling like they are coming to the land of their ancestors. But when they get to the motherland, they will start experiencing, some of this behavior from the locals. Well, I might not say it is a proud thing to do, and that is why I'm always recommending them that they should make sure they get somebody that is reliable in the continent before they want to even want to take the trip in coming to the continent, even if it's for a visit or a trip to come and stay permanently, or to start up a business. Before you want to take that trip into the motherland, make sure if you are going to Ghana, Kenya, Cameroon, whatever country you might have choose that you want to go there, make sure you select somebody that is trustworthy, in which when you go there, you are not going to find, all these things that is happening, um, or what the white guy experienced in that video. Now, that is what I've always been telling them. So, is it really something that is good? I mean, to your own opinion, for me, telling them that forget about America and move to the continent. Now, in your own opinion, do you really think it is something that is good, that like for them to leave America and move to the continent?
If you ask me that question, I could tell you a couple of things because see, let's be real for a second. You see, majority of African Americans who are coming to Africa, I mean, majority of them, the age bracket, are at
Yeah,
their 45, at their 50s. These are people who have established, relationships in the United States. These are people who have, they have their families in the United States. You see, so
yeah,
person as a kid, they go to school. Some are 17 years old, some are 18 years old. It will be so much difficult to leave them back there. So one thing that they could do is come together with their family. You know,
yeah,
try to talk to them to come together with their family because leaving the United States as a person, it's something which first begins with you. Now, if I have made my mind that I want to come to my motherland, what about my
yeah,
children who are still remaining there? Because you see, most of the teenagers in the United States, they're still young generation. They don't understand that coming back to the motherland is something which is important, you see. And as you have always been saying, the majority of people who are coming to the motherland are people at their 45 to, to their 50s, 60s. Those are the people who are coming
thesis.
to the
Yeah,
motherland. Yes.
yeah,
But these other small populations are still remaining in the United States. So if a person has made their mind to come to the United States, I'll advise them they try so much hard to convince the children to come with them. Why am I saying that this is important? We have American problems following you in Africa. See, so American problems following you in Africa in this way. So a 50-year-old man decided to come to Kenya today from the United States, right?
yes,
They having this good time, and then all of a sudden they start receiving call. Pops, I want you to do this to me. Oh, daddy, this has happened, and they're not there in the United States. You see, so those are American problems following you in Africa. So,
yeah,
moving back to America, I mean to Africa, sometimes it's not easier, especially when you have a family. But again, communication would help. I think if you a person who is having, I think in the United States, a person who is 17 years old, or United Kingdom, Canada, when you're having 17 years old, you're considered an elder person. So if
yeah,
they are having these children who are 17 years old, they could consider communicating with them, having proper financial planning for them, and tell them that I'm going back to the motherland and I'm leaving you this business. Try manage it well, and if you mismanage it, I'll not be there to to cater for your bills because it is so damn expensive to cater for a person a bill while in Africa, yet they're in the
mm-hmm.
United States. Because you see, we have the exchange rates, and when it's being converted to African currency to the United States, I mean, I'm talking about the dollars. It's so expensive, you see. So it's not easier for a person to cut off those bills, not unless they are having, I mean, the working assets in the United States that pumps a lot of cash to them while they're in Africa. So the circulation of money can also hold for, the children and the family. Another thing
Yes,
is this Another thing is this. How is the psychology of a person living a place where they've stayed for around 50 years? They've developed friendships. They have their parents maybe who are still there. They have the children still there, and they are moving to a place where they only know a person that they trusted, a YouTuber like you and I, telling them to come to
yeah,
Africa. So there are psychological factors which still will affect them. You see, finding ways to adopt to these people, waking up and realizing that you're not in your house. For example, you are not in your Ohio, you're not in your house where you used to be. So how does they wake up with trying to adapt to these things? These things can affect them psychologically, which is true. But again, if a person has set their mind that they want to come to the motherland, I believe that motherland is a place where it can heal all the traumas that people are having. Because
yeah,
a lot of people are having trauma. For example, if you're coming from the United States, the things that they face, the systemic racism, and the system is against them. And
yeah,
in some places, they don't even get sleep well because somebody's being shot, sound of guns and everything. But when you come to Africa, you rarely, hear something like that because people are just peaceful, people are minding their business. But again, it will require a lot of risk taking for a person to decide to come to, Africa, because waking up with this imagination of starting to make friends from square one, starting to, have a family from square one, it's something which is not easier. But thank God, we Africans, we are so welcoming. It won't be hard for you to, form basic relationships. I mean, your neighbors who are around, they can help show you where the market is. And also,
Yeah,
just before coming, the way you were saying, find a person that you know. It could be a person that you've
yeah,
been communicating with for quite a number of time. And as I always say, they should not trust anybody who they come across, even if it's YouTuber, you and I, they should not just trust them. I mean, they should
exactly.
take their time, try to understand what we do, and maybe meet with us physically. And before entrusting us with something like finances or something, they should at least spend some times with us, know us outside even the YouTube, know us as an individual, you see, know you as a
Exactly.
person,
Yeah,
know me as a person. And then from there, they can
yeah.
see, okay, I can trust this guy. So let me start working with him, you see. And I don't know if you are African Americans complaining about Africa because they are complaining that they are finding people were scamming them. They're finding fake experts. Fake experts are people like you and I, you see. Okay, not that we are
Mm-hmm.
fake experts. We like people who are on the platform, people who are seen by people. But then when they approach us, we don't help them the way they want, you see. So
Yeah,
it takes time for you to, just trust the person that you're seeing on a screen. Like, like we are seeing each other. That's why I was saying that it's important if they form, this personal relationship even outside YouTube. I mean, they could be talking to you for a couple of months, asking you questions. How is your place? How do
mm-hmm.
you guys do things there? You see, something which is real, something which it's outside even the social media. You as an individual, you as a person, and then from there, it's easier for you to work with them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And you know, that issue that you are talking about, about some experts who are scamming them. I first of all saw a video from one of our brothers' channel, Evans from Kenya, which one of our sisters from the diaspora was talking about how there are some certain YouTubers that will be passing out messages to them that when they get to the continent they can get a house for $40 for $40, which if you want to convert $40 like in my country that I am, converting $40 is around 20,000 francs to higher should be 20,000 francs. And if you want to look for a house with 20,000 francs, if you are lucky enough, you can get a single room, no kitchen, no toilet. So it is just going to be a single. So when I saw this, I said, but who are really this kind of people saying these things? And I did a video about that. If you are coming to the motherland and you want to come and spend some time, or you want to come and stay, budget at least 150,000 or 130,000 per month to look for a house. Now, if you want to convert 150,000 here in my country, Cameroon, it's going to give you around 90,000 francs CFA, which with 90,000 francs, you can even get an apartment with with um with with that amount of money, and it is going to be situated in the urban areas of the cities. So I made a video about that. So now, this issue of the the younger generation of the African diaspora, as you said, I also watched a video from your channel that an African American couple was talking about the challenges that they had when they moved to Africa, and one of the challenges that they said was them convincing their children to move with them. And in the video, they said that they first of all moved to the continent, then before they said convincing their children. Now, in terms of the youth, the African diaspora youth normally, we know that if you are in your youthful age, there are a lot of things that you always want to do first. You always want to be there. So now, what I can say and what I have been saying is that you know, in every generation, like we as people of uh, African descent, our generation relies on our children, right? That is our generation. And even if we have failed as a people, I keep telling the diasporans that even if, okay, let me say, maybe the time of you coming to Africa is over. Maybe you can be saying, I am of age for me moving to the motherland is going to make no sense. I think we need to start training our kids. We need to start telling them who they are. That is the only option. Because from when they are kids, if they don't know who they are, if they just grow up without still learning this same history that they taught us in school, that our ancestors had nothing, our ancestors had no civilization, they are going to grow up, since how they are still young, they have already realized that their ancestors were losers, which means automatically they are nothing. So they are going to grow up with this guilt in them that will not make them to want to have anything with the motherland. And that is one of the reasons. Because some of our people are denying the fact that they are not Africans. They don't want to be connected to anything. They want to be identified as any other people in the world rather than being African. And I think this is one of the reasons that plays the major role in that, because there is self-hate, hatred, and this self-hatred is coming from the doctrines that they have taught us. Like for me, I know the kind of history that I learned about our ancestors is not something that I would probably recommend it to my kids, that they should learn about it, because the world is finally realizing what really happened and how they are trying to play African. Now, what do you suggest, or what is your opinion in dealing with this problem concerning the African diasporan youth who does not want to make it to the land of their ancestors? Like, what can you suggest might solve this issue?
Hmm. You see, brother, there's something called identity crisis. And this is one thing which we must say that our brothers have always been trying to figure out, like, where do I come from? You see, because
Yeah,
they can go to a place for in Africa, and some Africans see them like they're not Africans. You see, again in
yeah, that's true.
when they're in United States, they're not seen as African. Okay? So they wonder, who are we? Because some of Africans don't see them as African. Okay? And
Yeah,
some of the whites in the United States also don't see them as Africans. So they wonder who
are we?
okay, people in the United States see them as African. Okay?
Yeah, Africans that yeah, Americans that descended from Africa.
Yes. Now people from Africa don't see them as African. So these things makes them be confused, and that's where something called identity crisis comes. So W.E.D. Du Bois wrote about something called Black consciousness, and this is something which the young generation, the young youth should be sensitized to know their their origin, who they are, and tell you this. Whether you're a
Yeah,
Caribbean, whether it doesn't matter where you come from, as long as you have the African descent, that makes you an African. And it's so sad that
exactly.
and it's so sad that I normally see some brothers and sisters, even in the comment section, they do tell me that don't call us African Americans, just call us Black Americans. Okay, I understand.
Yeah,
Um, Sometimes they don't want to be associated with, being called Africans because they believed some of our forefathers sold them
yeah.
as slaves,
So
those people.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
but yeah. But so you see that kind of sadness and rage that they do have, some of them do have amongst Africans. It's totally understandable. But when we just go down to reality, the reality is that as long as you're having black descent, because Let me tell you one thing. Today, if you take a DNA test, majority of them will recognize the western part of African country. That is
Yeah,
Ghana, Nigeria, name them all. The DNA percentage will show most of it in those western parts. So what does this show? This shows that majority of people came from Africa. Africa is the cradle of mankind. So
exactly.
which even gives it a blueprint is the color. If a person has that color, that makes him to be an African. See,
Exactly.
initially, everyone should have came from Africa. You see, before the how do we call these theories, these geographic theories that happened. The I don't know what happened. I never did geography, but you understand what I'm trying to say. Every
Yes,
person
I
came from
understand.
Africa. Every person came from Africa, and then later on, due to evolution, um,
Yeah,
a given group never developed in Africa, and now that's came where other races we having other races today. But
yeah,
what I'm saying is that the young generation should be sensitized to know their African origin. The parents should start playing a role of telling them the truth that son or daughter, we have been kept in the darkness, but now it's time for you to tell you for us to tell you the truth, and you need to start tracing your roots as young as possible. And it always makes me happy to see uh, people at their 20s, coming to Africa to to connect with people because they believe that this is a place. I should be interviewing a friend called Kind of Greatness. Is an African American. Later,
okay,
a week ago, he was in Tanzania, but when we come to Nairobi, Kenya, I have an interview with him. He's around 23 years old. So you see, such kind of people shows people that it doesn't matter your age, as long as you recognize with African, you should come back to Africa. And this is where the African American parents have a role. They have a role to tell these children
tell them.
that they should recognize with their own, and they should start be told, these African doctrines. They should start be, they should know a lot of things while they're still young. And we can't say that the United States government can help us do this. They can't, because what they want them to do is just to remain in the United States, and everything, the circle continues. But as a parent who knows the truth, they should tell their children to start teaching them about history, African history, and everything about slavery, because not most of the people know this. Majority of people are not educated this side. So it's important to start with that part. And while they're seeing racism every day in their schools, in their social places like hotels, everywhere, as children, this thing interferes with them psychologically as they grow as people, and it shapes how they interact with people from different races, because they
Yeah.
tend to come out as they see themselves as people who are not liked by other races. So when they're taught that they're African, it makes them so easy for them to understand the things which are happening around them, and also to associate with Africans and other people who are from different races. Yeah.
All right. Since we all know what is happening to us, be it you are an African American, you are an African, you are Jamaican, in as much as you are from the same ancestors and the same group as an African descendant, you are going to face discrimination and racism wherever you go to the world. Even if you be it you go to China, wheresoever you are. Now, I've been talking about this issue of how can we solve this issue of racism? How can we make the other races of people respect us as we truly are? Because for me, I think the reason why we are being discriminated and the reason why we are faced with this racism thing is not because of skin color. I don't really think it's because of skin color. I think it is because of the state, uh, the state where the continent is still like the continent is still in a state where people will not respect anybody that is from or that has ancestors from Africa, because Africa, I can. if I can say Africa is still behind compared to the other, compared to the technological world. All right. So I think this is the main problem. Like if somebody sees you, like if a European person sees you, he will know that you are from Africa. And since as he already know that Africa is behind, that is where this issue of racism come about. So I was talking about that. For me, in order for us to solve this issue of racism, it's not only about saying it like as we are coming online to talk about it, but it is also to start doing something to improve on the standard of the continent, to improve on the technological aspect, and to look for a way we can build the continent. So that is what I've been trying to say, because this thing is not going to stop. All right. And that is why I might say to an extent that even though I'm not, a full supporter of coups happening, but to an extent, I might say I'm in support of these coups because they benefit the people. Because if you take a look at Burkina Faso and Niger, at the period where these coups had not happened, and I also think that is one of the reasons why the young generation of African Americans don't want to come to the continent, because they feel like the state of the continent compared to America or Europe is poor. So they are like, I'm not going to come. But we should not keep saying that. We should start looking for a means to solve this issue, because I think that is the only way it can make other races of people respect us or respect the black race. So what do you think about this?
It's a good thing to, I mean, to stop racism. But again, this is something which we must really deal with because it's a generational problem. Racism has always been there, and I don't believe that it will end. Something which I don't think it will ever end because we'll always be saying which race is better than that, you see. The only thing we can try to do is try to spread awareness because we have anti-racism laws which are also in the United States. We have anti-racism laws which are in Africa, but again we still
Yeah,
see racism still is something which is there. You see, so racism is something which sometimes occurs naturally. um, Sometimes when you say racism, it's we think that it's whites looking down upon whites. Sometimes racism in other lenses, it can be a black person looking down upon a white person. So it's something which occurs naturally to a person, and it involves different stakeholders to come together to at least try to. I think the sensitization of people in understanding how different people react to different subjects when it comes to races, it's important
yeah,
here. So what I'll say is this: in as much as we are living in race in our countries, or it's still in the USA, you see,
yeah,
uh, it's important for you as a person to know your rights. What's your right as a human being, leave alone the color. You see, um, if I go to a public place, I should be served just like any other person is being served. I should not be looked down upon because I'm a woman, or I should not be looked down upon because I'm a man. I should not be looked down
yeah,
upon because I have the ability of doing something. So it starts from the human rights. What is it right for me to do as a person? Taking somebody's life is not right to do. You think? So if you have this human rights as a person, you will not violate.
yeah,
Even there will be no problem in something like race because you'll be seeing a person like a human being, something beyond even their color. You see, that's where people need to base on things because if you see things in the lenses of human rights rather than racism, it's so easy to solve
yes,
it. For example, today, brother, if you go to a shop and let me say you're going to a supermarket and somebody steps on your shoes, see, while you're going to pick a product, you tell them, uh, brother, kindly say sorry, see, and you will not see that this person is a white person. That's why he has stepped on me. Maybe they have stepped on you accidentally. So what are you going to tell them? You're going to ask them, bro. you could have said sorry, or bro or sis can tell you, bro, I'm sorry. You see, so this is something which is just even beyond color. For example, somebody stepping on you accidentally. There is there's nothing kept there like it's a white person. That's why you have stepped on me. You see, because we even black people we fight amongst ourselves. We fight for resources. So what I'm going to tell you
Yeah.
is this. What I'm going to tell you is this. Racism is there, yes, but if we have human rights, the things that guides us as human, you won't want to do to a person that you might not want them to do to you. You see, this is what is called the golden rule. It's even in the doctrine of the Ten Commandments of Jesus. Love your
Yeah.
neighbors, you love yourself. You see, so whatever you might not want to do for a person, you can't do it to yourself because it's harmful, and so it's also harmful to your brother. And I think that's also in the doctrine of Ubuntu spirit. I am because you are because I am. That's what makes us African. So in relation to racism is so complex and it traces its history back then when, Africans were being enslaved and Africans were being looked down upon as people who are inferior. And now talking about coming to third world continent, Africa, and third world countries which are in Africa. You're back.
All right. Yeah. It's just a little technical issue. All right. So bro, that was at first that was what I was thinking. But concerning we all know how the continent is today. We all know how things are moving on in the continent, and in as much as we are concerned, we want a change in Africa. We want a change in Africa. You know, we don't want to continue the same way that we have been continuing, and giving all our resources out there and depended on imported products. Like for example, here in Cameroon, there is a city here in Cameroon called Bamenda, which it produces rice. Okay, it produces rice, and instead, if the country is heavily importing rice from China, like that is, we don't consume the rice that is being produced in our own country, but we are still, even though our country produces rice, we are still importing the rice from China and consuming it, and which I think that is one of the problem that we as Africans we need to work on, and our leaders also we need to work on. Now, concerning this issue of developing Africa, concerning this issue of developing Africa, Africa cannot be developed if the the population or the citizens are still suffering. The citizens are not still having jobs. The citizens are still trying to go to the US to look for in search of greener pastures and stuff like that. So now, I think if we want to, improve our economy, or if we want to improve Africa, we need to first of all please the economy, please the population or the citizens of the country. Now, what do you think about it?
Okay, I tend to think just exactly as you said, because why would we import products which our local people or our local, agriculture can provide for us? We can start from there. It means that there is a problem. It's either we don't have the manpower or we don't have the machines to process these products so that we can have the final products. And same
Yeah,
case with every African country, because we have the mineral resources, but you take them to the overseas, and then they use them to make phones like copper. You see, they use them to make phones, and then they sell us again at higher price. Yet they have the resources that we. So sometimes for Africa to develop is one thing we need to have those able leaders, those leaders who doesn't bow down to things like corruption. You see, those
yeah,
leaders who understand that Africa needs to develop. So you see, um, The problem, that's how the problem starts, because we should not be having the opportunity of having the mineral resources with us. But again, we are checking them. I understand that there are some factors which can come to play in place, like if we don't have the processing machines to make them come to a final product so that we can have our own products, totally
Yeah.
understandable. But it's also like something like rice. It's being important. It's being imported in Africa. So you are buying something from a different country. It means that you importing a lot of problem, including imported inflation. You see, these are the
Exactly.
problems which Africa is facing, and it's so hard for us to develop. And it won't be easy if we don't choose able leaders. You see, that's the problem that we have, because our leaders are still bowing down to those people, and that's the problem. If they are bowing down to those leaders, we will still our resources will always be exploited every now and then. And talking about those people who are leaving Africa to going to different countries, that is what we call brain drain. See, so I have a skill. I know I should develop my own country, but I'm leaving my country. I'm going to develop another country. You see, while I'm going to that country, one, I'm selling my skills to them. I'm paying taxes to that country. You see,
Yes.
so imagine in a year, almost 15% of people in Africa leave Africa to
Yeah.
go to the overseas to provide their labor there. So this 15%, if we could just maintain them in Africa, because I believe for a person to live, I'm talking about people who legally leave Africa to go to places like United States or Canada or United Kingdom to search for work. These are skilled people.
Yes.
These are people who have acquired education well enough to, to operate given things that require technocracy. So it means that if we can't keep these people in Africa, then it's not easier for us to develop. And that's why you see when our leaders are sick, they're not treated in Africa. They're treated in maybe in India, or maybe they're treated in the
Yes.
United States. But it's funny enough that the people who are treating them there came from Africa, you see. So it means that if we can have Africans to stay in Africa. And I'm not blaming them to some point, because the government is making it hard for them. You have a skill, but there is no job for you. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go look for a passport legally, go to another country. That's why I'm still coming back to our African. The African leaders has that blueprint of changing Africa itself. And also there's this population that should be educated a little bit, because majority of the youths who are energetic believe that life is not in Africa, life is in the United States. So they leave Africa legally or illegally, and they got there. And then when they got there, it's grass is not greener the way they think
Yes. The
there.
way they were
So
thinking.
yeah, so it forces them to come back to Africa. They saved a couple of money. They go with in fact, it's so sad that most of them even sell all the products. Some people sell their assets in the
All
house, and
their
then
property.
they have nothing, bro. So when they got there, they find that the grass ain't greener the way they thought, because they don't have the papers, and it's so hard for you to survive uh, in the overseas without certification. So if you don't have the papers, it's hard for you to, survive there, because there are a couple of things that you require to have to at least get a job. Something basic like a driving license, the person doesn't have. Your college degree, there are a number of papers that you need to go there, but majority of people who are going there don't have these things. And when they don't have
Yeah.
these things, it means that it's not easy for them to get job. When they go there, problem starts. They realize that they have to have a plane ticket, and then when they reach Africa, they don't have anything, and then they start from zero. Some of them end up being depressed. So back to the main point that I was talking about. If only our African leaders can change the way they handle the resources of Africa, because Africa has a lot of resources that if they tap into it very, very productively, I mean, we
Yeah.
don't need help from other countries. We are self-sufficient by ourselves. We just need those technocrats who leave Africa, because the technocrats we have, they are in Africa. But the problem is brain drain. They keep on living and they're going to, the United States. So I think that's generally the problem of Africa, um, generally itself. That's what I can say.
All right, because I have experienced some nasty things online or some nasty conversations that I have had online. Um, um, I'll give you an examples of them. Now, before I jump into the example, there was a video I watched on YouTube where um, an an African doctor that he was a doctor here in Africa, if a first class doctor here in Africa. He refused to do his job and moved to Canada in the terms of he wants to get greener pasture. And he went there and started washing cars. He went there and started washing cars. Now people started asking, but you are a doctor by profession. Now, why will you allow your profession move out of your own country and move to Canada just to start washing cars? Are you making enough money by washing these cars than if you could have been doing your profession? So I think these are reasons why, even though to an extent we cannot just blame him and say, why are you leaving? Why did you leave your profession and leave your country to go and start washing cars? Because you know there is an example of I don't know if you know this player from Paris, Mbappe. Yes, Mbappe is a Cameroonian. His father is a Cameroonian, and his mother is I think is Algeria. So at the time when Mbappe was in Cameroon, he was playing in a second division team here in Cameroon, and he really had passion to play football. But when it was the time when players were recruited into the national team, he was not. He was rejected because maybe they were looking. They asked for some particular sum of money from his parents before they can recruit him in the national team, in which at that point he was not having, or his parents were not having that type of money. So he was forced to, leave the country and try to pursue his dreams elsewhere. And unfortunately for him, he went and he became a big star in France. So Cameroonians have been online, ranting and saying that, give us back our Mbappe. Mbappe belongs to us. Why do you guys have to take Mbappe? And all those stuff. Mbappe himself made it clear in an interview. He said that he knows he's from Cameroon and he knows that Cameroon is his country. But the time in which he really wanted to go and play for his country, they refused him. They choose money over his talent. You understand? They choose money over his talent. So he now said, it is not my fault, all right? It's not as if I willfully, or willingly left my country. I really wanted to play for my country because I really love my country, but it is because of the way they treated me that was why I left the country. So it might still apply the same for this doctor. We don't really know what really happened. But nevertheless, there is a saying here in the country that at times we should not only focus, we as citizens, we should not only focus on what has the country done for us, but at least once in a while we should focus on what have we done for our country. You understand? So that is a saying here in Cameroon. And now there are some experiences that I've experienced, because this is, if all these things that are happening, that the other races of people are seeing, that even professional Africans themselves don't stay in their country because they are poor and stuff like that. We get humiliated. I mean, I've had numerous arguments with some Europeans online that they told me, you are from Africa, dude. What has Africa done in the development of the world in terms of technology? What has Africa done? What have Africa contributed? All those stuff. There was even a time when I was playing an online game called Pog Mobile, and in that game, the servers allows you to discuss with players online. Maybe if your servers happens to match with someone from any country, you guys can communicate, you can discuss. So now that day I was playing, and it happens that my server matches with one lady from, I think that lady was from Romania, if I'm not mistaken, Romania. So when we were playing and we were discussing, so we were asking each other, where are you from? And the girl heard my accent, so he concluded that I'm from Africa. So he said, "Are you from Africa?" I said, "Yes, I'm from Africa." Now he now asked me, "But why do you speak, English so well?" I said, I cannot really answer that question. Maybe if you are going to school, or if you have been to school, they must have told you about colonization and all that stuff. So he now asked me the second question, that do you people have drinking water in Africa? Like, how do people drink water in Africa? I mean, I was so embarrassed by that question. I was like, what? In this 21st century, even if they will tell you that a particular group of people don't have technology, but even to have access to drinking water, you don't have any idea. Now, I asked her that, do you know that Africa has over 1 billion people and 54 countries? She said yes, that she's aware. Now, I said, so do you think this amount of people could have could have still be alive without, having good drinking water to drink? I mean, so these are the type of things that is really making us Africans. And that is why we all keep preaching that we need this unity. All right, we need this unity to unite. The land is here, even though Chinese are trying everything possible to to put themselves and acquire lands and properties here in the continent, but the land is still here. All right, the land is still here. So we need to, I think, to an extent. I'm not saying that Africans should not travel, because like I said, there are some points where there are some circumstances where it is because of what our people are facing here in the motherland, that somebody might have degree, somebody might be qualified to have a job, but when they want to go and apply, or if they go to an interview, they are going to be rejected. One, because maybe they might not be as the same tribe, or the tribe that they are looking for, in order for in order to give the job to, that person is not coming from that tribe. Or the second thing might be connections and bribery. So these are some of the reasons that makes our brothers and sisters here in the continent to move, or to go to somewhere else and start looking for greener pastures. And I've been doing videos about this issue, and I've issue. But despite the fact that we are facing this issue, we should not feel discouraged. All right. There was a saying that home is home, no matter where you go. So no matter if things are being sideways, no matter if things are not working out, we need to change. We are the generation. All right. We are the young generation. The growth of our countries, the growth of our people depends on us. Nobody is going to do it for us. The Europeans will never do it for us. I mean, we have even seen from the past hundreds of years that they have never done anything. So they are just always there for interest, and they are never going to do it except we do it for ourselves. So that is what I've been trying to pass across also there to our brothers and sisters that are leaving the continent, and to the African diaspora also. What do you think about that?
You see, this topic is so multifaced with a number of factors. I can try point one is, you see, so people are leaving Africa going to different countries. Sometimes we can't tend to blame them. And as I said earlier, the
Yes,
government plays part in this, in making life of a common citizen to be so hard, because you find that you have the papers, you have the skills, but there is no job for you. So a person is left with no choice. Like, you may want to develop your country, for example, Africa, you have a skill,
yes,
but the government is not supporting you. The way you say the story of Mbappe, you see, people are
yes,
not supporting you. The government is not supporting you. So it forces you to live, and as a result, it's a brain drain. You see, so to them, they're benefiting, and it's even easier for them to make you the citizen because you are making their name to be great, paying the taxes, and you making their flag to be known. You see, be it in sports, be it in science, be it in technology, just anything. So our government, I still take it back to our government. Our government still plays a big role in shaping, you know, uh, the lives of young youths because, as you've said, um, the development is in the hands of the young generation. But
Yeah,
if we are mishandled, I mean, the people who are in power right now, if we are mishandled as youths, that's why you would see a majority of African youths taking drugs. People are dropping out of school because people are not seeing the essence of school. Um,
exactly.
because it's so hard to convince a person. Just go to school to acquire knowledge in the at putting stake to um, being employed at the end of it. It's so hard to uh, being convinced to go to school to do this. So are you there? Bro, Nelson, what happened to your network, bro?
This airport is having low battery, so I'm charging it. Then I'm using it to get so that the audio will at least be cool.
Oh, as I was
Yeah.
saying,
Yes.
I was saying that the problem that we have is our government, you see. So, like for example, for the youths, and
Yeah.
today people are going to school, and education is power, and that's true.
Yeah.
That's
That's
why
true. That's true.
you and I can hold the conversation for this long because at least we know some aspects for economic sector, political, and social
Yeah.
sector of life. But it's so hard to convince an African today, for example, a person like you and I, it's hard to convince a person to, you just go to school and have the knowledge, and then you seeing a number of people with their degrees don't have jobs, you
To
see.
have jobs.
So this is so discouraging to people, and we asking ourselves, what is the plight of, students who have these degrees, and how are we gonna help them, like you and I. For me, I'm doing Bachelor of Arts, and do you know University of Nairobi?
Yeah. 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 I've heard of that.
Yeah. So I'm a fourth year at the University of Nairobi. And I understand that it's so hard because I've been seeing a couple of people who have graduated, and like you
Yeah.
ask them, "Oh, what are you doing?" And they're just like, I'm just there." And if they're not doing their businesses, then you know what you expect. It's either they're using drugs, they're just idle, or just watching movies. There's nothing productive they're doing with what they learned, you see. And this is one thing in which our government need to look into, like generally African government, try to
Yeah.
put an education system which doesn't offer only theoretical knowledge to a person, but something which is practical, something which you can move out of school and maybe start your own business with the knowledge that you acquired from school. And you see,
Yeah.
sometimes a person just needs a skill. But you see, there are a lot of theoretical works which are taught in college. So when a person leaves the school, he has nothing to offer to the community. Because you can't explain to a person uh, theoretical things that you learned on campus without applying to them, practical. In the world, we are living in a world of practical. We are not living in a
Yeah.
theoretical world. So when you all of your 4 years you're being taught theoretical work, and you haven't even been taught practical things. So when you go out there, there's no job for you, and the jobs are limited for you. So I think that the government should come up with a way of teaching these people.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the government should come up with a way of teaching these people how to apply the theoretical work into the world space where people interact through jobs, and I think the youths will have a better place. And as I was saying, it's so hard to convince a person to go to school when they are saying a number of people who have went to school don't have anything important that they're all in their
Anything?
hands. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's so hard. That's why you see a number of people dropping out of school. That's why you see people are starting schools, they don't have school fees to complete the school, they have to drop out. And I don't know if you in your country you have free education.
no,
Do
I
you?
don't. I don't
Because
think so.
for us,
Yeah,
education is coming damn expensive. And it's so funny that education is coming damn expensive, but it is inversely proportional to finishing school and getting a job. You might learn and learn and learn, but at the end of it, you getting out of school, you need to look at a business to do while looking at the career that you studied for. So it's so sad that when we are looking at the developmental stages of Africa,
yeah,
but we can't use our skills and knowledge that we have acquired through the books to develop our own country. Explain to me a person who has gone to school and they understand economics so well, you see, but they can't
yeah,
explore the economics by just selling groundnuts on the streets. They can't explore the economics by selling bananas on the streets. That's so superficial, you see. So how will they develop this country? It's so hard. That's still takes us back to the government thing. Um, there's this time when in our country they used to give
yeah,
people bursaries.
yeah.
Totally, it just disappeared. If you can't pay school fees, there is no education for you. So I mean, it's so hard for a normal citizen who wants to acquire education. It's even the odds are so like it's nil, bro. So even if you're acquiring education, you are not guaranteed that you get a job. That's why most of us are reverting to doing, other things, at least trying to practically enhance your skills through interacting with people like what you and I are doing. Because you see,
Yeah,
sometimes the things that we studied for are not, working for us. And
that's
as
true.
I'm saying, I just take you back to the government. The government is where we need to look at because that's where the rain started beating us. When we have those able government who can tap into our resources um, and provide for the people, I think it will be well. And also, we as citizens, we are mandated. In as much as we are aware that the government plays a big role in making Africa not develop. So, what can you do as an individual? That's another question that we need to ask ourselves. And that's where at least education tries to help us as citizens or as students who understand socioeconomic, socio-political, economic factors that are happening in the country. So
Yeah,
if you understand that the government can't help, now what can you do as an individual? You see, that's where I'm heading to. It seems it looks that it takes us to look at alternative ways of making a living instead of crowding to offices with CVs and yeah,
that's true. That's true.
and
That's
also
true.
coming up with ways of employing other people.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. And that is even one of the reasons I've also been, trying to pass such messages out there because here in the country, most of our youth here, one of the reasons why you see most of our youth, or if I can say most of African youth are stuck in the position that they are, is because we rely too so much on the government. I mean, we rely so much on the government that we don't even have the ability to think for ourselves anymore. Which I don't really think, that should be. Even though yes, we know the government is responsible for us because they are the one controlling our economy. But to an extent, we need to also have that ability to think for ourselves and say, what if the government is not there? What can I do for myself? So that is just what I said. Let me pass. So as we're about to round up, I want to ask you like, what message can you give to the African diasporans, concerning their coming to the motherland? Like, what message can you give to them sincerely?
Um, this is one thing that I've always been saying. See, coming back home, not just coming back home. Coming back home is reconnecting. This is the place that you're supposed to be. And if
Yeah,
maybe they were never told, if there's a place that they find peace of mind, is in Africa. If there's a place people will not judge them because of their color, it is in Africa. Now,
yeah,
coming to Africa, it's not just coming to Africa, it involves a lot of things. And they always need to be ready to prepare psychologically, to adapt. Adapting is not easy, but again, it's not impossible. That's what I
yeah,
always say. It's not easy, but again, it's not impossible. So come to Africa with an open mind. Be ready to, sometimes have hard times with the local. There'll also be happy moments, but motherland is your home. You see, just like home, sometimes you fight with your brother. Sometimes you fight with your sister. It's like a home, but most of the
yeah,
times you will be happy. You see, yeah. So same with Africa. So if you come in Africa, be ready because Africans are not perfect. We'll still just find a way of getting you to fight with us. And it's not even being African or something. It's being that's what is called being human. They asked conflict. So
yeah,
Africa is your home, and we are ready to welcome you and just embrace uh, our imperfection as Africans, our faults. I think that's what makes us perfect as Africans. We are not looking for perfection. We have our
yeah.
flaws, yes, and we welcome you. That's a good thing. And you are always covered under the Ubuntu spirit. I am as you are, because I am. Nobody will judge you because of your color, because we are one person.
All right. Thank you so much for having you in the live today. Thank you so much for
Thank you
having
so much
you in
for
the live
having me.
today. Yeah, so I think that is that. I also want to thank any of you that participated. We are also going to bring out stories like this more and more. And please, if you're just coming to the channel, make sure you do subscribe to our channels. As you can see, I'm your brother from Cameroon, and this is your brother from Kenya. So thank you so much. We are going to be seeing you guys on our next live. So thank you
Ask,
so
ask,
much, bro.
ask your fans to greet you. You haven't even greeted them. Just tell them to say hi.
Um, as you all can hear, if you all can say hi in the live, at least it's really going to be cool. It's really going to be cool. So I hope you guys enjoyed the topic. You guys enjoyed the topic, and if there's any questions that you all would want to ask us, you might as well ask us. While we are live.
Maybe they're typing. Just give them time.
All right.
I think they're gonna type. I don't know. So, brother, thank you so much for having me, and I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah. So do I. That's why I say, when I saw your channel, I was like, I really love what you are doing. I really do love what you are doing. I really love what you
Thank you
are.
so
And
much, brother.
I think more of our youth need to spread this message. Spread this message. Most of our youth need to spread it. I even have some of my friends who also have shared the same ideology with me. But and maybe with time, I'm going to bring in them on the channel so that they can share also their ideas that they have towards these issues, so that we are here to share ideas and to also help our diaspora brothers to visit the continent. So that's it.
Okay, brother. Thank you for having me.
All right, all right.